Hey guys, Sart here. Today I'm going to be trying out Prismacolors. They are a type of colored pencil that is known for blending well. I've had to use them in the past a couple of times for projects, but I've never actually sat down and given it full effort, so it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. Before we get into today's video, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe if you are in the 93.3% who have not done so, or are in the 0.3% of people who do not exist apparently. Thank you! For this one, I will be drawing these two men. Minecraft World Record holding speedrunner Dream and PvP legend himself, Technoblade. Their skins leave a lot to be imagined, so I pretty much have a lot of creative freedom with this. The main reason I went for this concept was that the Minecraft championships were pretty lit. I started drawing this after season 6, so it's based off of the stuff that they said at that point in time. I'd also like to add that this is not a ship. Techno is joking around and simping for Dream, but I am not shipping this. And if I see this R on Wattpad as the cover of a Techno Dream fanfic, I will not be pleased. Anyway, using colored pencils was interesting. I haven't done a fully thought out traditional piece in a long time, so throughout this whole thing, I was wishing that I could have done it digitally. There are a few advantages of digital art, like having the undo button and having layers to separate everything. But with the Prismacolors, as soon as you put it to the paper, that stuff is not coming off. I also have to be careful to erase the pencil sketch I did beforehand, because the colored pencil would end up blending with the graphite, and everything would become muddy and gray. One thing I didn't notice when I used them before was that the colors get blurred out really easily, so I kept having to go back and making the shading darker.
One thing you'll notice that I do is I start off with a really light base color and I go back with the darker Prismacolors to create the shadows. And now I am coloring Techno's face. The peach color that I used for the skin was a little bit too yellow to be a skin tone, and especially since Techno is a pig, I added in more red over it so that it would become a more natural skin tone. I used this red for the shadows, and I also used a darker brown that had red tones in it. For the hair, I also used red, but I did it very lightly so that I could add white over it. This is probably one of the only times I'd ever use a white pencil. The camera that I'm using makes it look a lot redder and darker than it actually is, but I was actually trying to go for more of a light pink, and I'll show you when I do the final reveal. I also add in blue for the shadows because it goes well with red for some reason, and shadows are typically blue in tone hue, and I just go over it. I go over the red a lot with the darker colors to really bring out the form, the shape, etc., you know. And here I am outlining the crown. With the yellow, I go very lightly so that I can layer on all the colors like I do, and pack it on there. And I also add in tones of blue so that it's not just one color, try to make it look better. I add red to the crown also to show like a reflection of the hair, because it's a metal, it's going to reflect what's below it, I guess. I use darker browns and darker reds to bring out the shadow. How many times have I said shadow in this video? Then I start to draw out the jewels using the same techniques as before, starting out with a lighter color, adding in the darker colors on top of it to make it darker. Some parts I leave lighter so that I can add in the white to create the shine, and some parts I add in the darker like browns and dark blues. I also add the color of the jewels onto the crown so that it looks like a reflection, the same as I did with the hair. So we have the red and the green and the purple reflecting onto the yellow. And then I add in the fur collar, but I use purple as an outline because I was unsure what to use as a shadow, and purple seems like a pretty decent color. Use white to blend it out a bit so that it looks less stark against the white paper. I add in black also to make the shadows more apparent. For the shirt, I just use black, and then I put a lot of white Prismacolor over it to make it look gray. Then I start drawing the jacket, starting out real light with the red again, going in with the black and dark brown. I also use the blue as a shadow so that I can really bring out the darker colors, the darker tones. I use yellow as a lighter base color so that the red doesn't drown out the lightness, so that there can be a lighter red. I try not to make it too dark, but I still add a lot of dark brown for the shadows, keeping in mind the light source. I try to add in a lot of dark lines to make it look like there are folds in the fabric, and I try not to blend those out too much. And again, I added more blue for the shadows, for the red. It blends together very well, so even if they are on opposite ends of the color spectrum, it still looks pretty good, surprisingly. And then I start drawing Techno's hand. I use blue for the shadows. I realized after I drew it that it was probably too large for the proportions of the drawing. I had red on the knuckles and the fingers because that's more or less how hands look. I might have made it a little bit too red so it looks a little bit like he has like blood on his hands or something, but you know what, I'm gonna pretend that that was on purpose. I also make Dream's skin tone a little bit more on the yellower side so that it can look like they're two different people and that they don't have the exact same skin color and the same features. Once again, I start out with a base color, yellow, since it's more of a lime green, I guess, and I go over it with the darker apple green and the pine green. I really just layer it so that the yellow still shows through, but the green is more prominent. I also clean it up with my eraser, and I go back with the dark green and try to make all of the shadows a lot more prominent. I try to outline the features so that they can stand out more. I go back with the blue and some of the brown to make a shadow over Dream's neck because that's how shadows work, and I also go over his face with red to make his skin tone more natural again. And I also try to clean up his hair with white, and I use black to outline everything. Also, I'm posting this as a Draw This In Your Style challenge on Instagram. The hashtag is going to be Clout, dtiys, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd join and or follow me. I don't know. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching.